Hello and welcome to this exciting episode of Sattology Debunking Mythology. तो आज के इस लाइव एपिसोड में आपका बहुत बहुत स्वागत है और यहाँ पे हमारे साथ जुड़ने वाले हैं मेजर जनरल एस बी अस्थाना। आपने उनको बहुत सारे टीवी शोज में भी देखा होगा इंडिया में आज एक्चुअली, और वो मुझे बता रहे थे थोड़ी देर पहले। एंड ऑल्सो उनका एक ब्यूटीफुल आर्टिकल ही पब्लिश्ड ऑन डिकोडिंग दिस करंट कॉन्फ्लिक्ट। एंड यू ऑल नो that we analyze from the perspective of our Shastra also in Sattology. So we'll ask, it will be a very interesting discussion between me and General Asthana ji. And you can ask, it's a live show. आप लोग बड़ी संख्या में जुड़िए और समझने की कोशिश करिए कि how, what is this happening and why is it happening the way it is happening. And so without delay, let us welcome Dr. Major General Dr. S.B. Asthana. Namaskar.
Thank you. Thank you.
So,
Pleasure to be speaking to you and your viewers.
Yeah. So एक ये जो inside story है, like everybody wants to get the scoop, and ये purely military conflict है, लेकिन इसके पीछे बहुत सारा background भी है. You wrote a very beautiful article which I read, and I will say the viewers to also read it. इस लिंक पे मैं डाल दूंगा पूरा आर्टिकल, so you people can see it. और आपने बड़ा सुंदर एनालाइज किया है ऑन द कंट्रीब्यूटिंग फैक्टर्स टू इजराइल हमास कॉन्फ्लिक्ट. इसमें बहुत सारा चैनल्स पे भी लोगों ने डिस्कशन किया है, बट देयर इज अ स्टोरी विच इज टोल्ड एंड देयर इज अ स्टोरी विच इज एक्चुअली देयर. सो मैं आपसे ये सब टॉपिक्स आपसे बात करूंगा. सो व्हाट आर द कंट्रीब्यूटिंग फैक्टर्स? वी बिगिन देयर, and also I want to touch upon the today's incident in the hospital which you were sharing and my version of it. तो प्लीज बताइए
Okay.
इसमें कंट्रीब्यूटिंग फैक्टर्स पहले शुरू करते हैं, then we'll continue on other questions.
Okay. As we all know that in the land of Israel, and when I say land of Israel, I am speaking about Israel, West Bank, and Gaza, all three put together. We all understand that Israel has a right to live, Jews have a right to live, and Jews must have their own country and own voice, and they must be able to protect themselves and defend themselves and govern themselves. No doubt about it. Same is the case with the Palestinians. Jews trace the history that they were the originals. Palestinians also have some similar kind of history to back their support, that they were also not the outsiders and they were also the originals in that land. But then the fact is that there have been two state solutions which have been projected many times but never succeeded. And that has led to certain issues. And firstly, why they did not succeed. The problem is that as of today, if you see, Israel has a state. Israel controls Israel. It also controls West Bank, and it also controls the air and maritime space of Gaza. And it also controls entry and exit of Gaza with 6 exit points. And the 7th one is in Egypt, which Egypt has also closed. So as far as people of Gaza are concerned, they have nowhere to go. As far as the Palestinians are concerned, they are physically there in West Bank and Gaza, but they are not governing themselves in a manner that they do not have control over that particular territory, that piece of territory. Secondly, they feel that this is an injustice to them. The second issue is that this two-state solution did not succeed for two basic reasons. One is both sides want full Jerusalem and not half Jerusalem. As far as Jews are concerned, the Temple Mount and the Western Wall and all that is the holiest place of Jews. So obviously they can't part with it. And that is in the Eastern Jerusalem. Co-located is Al-Aqsa Mosque, which is the third holiest place of Islam. So the Arabs can't part with it. So with the result, this is one thing which is non-negotiable for both. So even President Trump tried, but it didn't work out. And that solution was rejected. The second major reason is that in West Bank, you have Palestinian localities as well as Israeli localities, and both are embedded in each other. So there is no way to divide and one community is in no mood to leave that particular area. Now, when Netanyahu took over, here the situation was that firstly, he wanted to encroach more, number one. When judges gave the decision against it, then he wanted to do judicial reforms, and everything drew fair amount of awkward situation. And then came the geopolitical situation. And that was most important. Israel was seen getting closer to Saudi Arabia and getting closer to the Arab world and getting closer to other countries too. There was I2U2 formulation. There was Abraham Accord where other Arab countries came closer to it. And most importantly, Saudi Arabia was about to strike a deal on nuclear power and some other issues as well. Now, this was not to the liking of Hamas and its backers. And that is where they thought that something big has to be done. And unless you do something big, the Palestinian cause will be off the table, and Israel and Arab relations will be such that subsequently there will be a problem. So what they thought was that let's do something in a manner that they know that military capability of Israel is much superior to them. They know that they can't match it. So, and they are a terrorist organization in a manner that they are ruthless, they are brutal, and they don't believe in two-state solution. Hamas per se is a believer to say that Israel shouldn't exist and everything should belong to us. Now that is ridiculous. But then the fact is that in 2006 they claim to have won the vote and therefore the governing rights, and they had a military wing and they subsequently became terror organization, and they were being supported. Their leaders are in Qatar. Some of the leaders they are being supported, allegedly being supported by Iran and some other Muslim countries too. Now these guys they thought that if we strike and kill civilians and get as many hostages as we can, then there will be tremendous pressure on Israel, and Israel will have to respond beyond proportion, or say disproportionately, because they will get provoked tremendously. And that can create a situation wherein the Arab world can get closer to the Palestinian and perhaps Hamas too. That was the calculation. And they made a fantastic plan in a manner that their aim was very clear. They studied, firstly, intelligence was very clear. They studied the Israeli pattern. Israelis were tremendously dependent on the technological fencing. And when Netanyahu was doing something in the West Bank, a fair amount of units perhaps were moved to the north. So south was troop density in next to the fencing was little low. Secondly, they were so much dependent on that fencing that the obstacles were not very well covered. And as a military man, I can tell you, if you have an obstacle and don't cover it by human being and fire, it can be breached, and it was breached. And therefore, Hamas found ways and means to breach it, which we all saw on televisions, and I think everybody is aware of how did they do it. Now, thereafter, what they thought was that if we do some atrocities to civilians and take the hostages, the provocation to Israel will be tremendous, and they will run into the trap of responding and bombarding the entire Gaza Strip to an extent that they will come under human rights criticism. And in a way, they have succeeded, because they have made the visit of Joe Biden almost null and void, and they have also created a big rift between Israel and the Arab world after this hospital attack, which we all know. So these were the contributing factors. So Israel becoming a little complacent in the southern side because of a high-tech fencing, little complacent because of the Iron Dome system, and going a little too far as far as pushing the Palestinians is concerned in the West Bank, and as a sequel to the incidents which happened in Al-Aqsa Mosque, which happened about 2 years back, and thereafter there were certain provocations there after that too. So there was a continuity, and Hamas uh, may not be representing Palestinians per se, for the simple reason because last election they won in 2006, and after that they have ensured that there is no election. But then the other side also, when it comes to the Abbas and the remaining Palestinians, they also have held an election for quite some time, and they also are corrupt in a manner that Hamas leadership, some of them are sitting in, and they enjoy life. They are sitting in Qatar. Same is the case with the other leadership, and the unfortunate part for the Palestinians is that they do not have a strong, dedicated leadership, and that is why their cause has never seen light of the day. Initially, they had during Yasser Arafat time, and that was the time I think some of the people who were not too happy with the Yasser Arafat's rise, they gave rise to Hamas, and they gave certain support to Hamas so that Hamas becomes powerful and Yasser Arafat's influence goes down. But then, as we all know, that whenever you give some fodder to the snake or milk to the snake, at some point of time it will bite you. So now today the state is Hamas is a brutal organization. The kind of attack which they did in Israel, it must be condemned, should be condemned by everybody. Uh, but the way the situation has developed, that they have a lot of hostages, anything between 200 to 250. The Israel is finding very difficult. They have to punish Hamas, but at the same time, this punishment is involving fair amount of civilian casualties. The civilian casualties in Palestine has gone up 2 to 3 times now. So therefore, there is a lot which is at stake. And if they, and I had predicted earlier that they will have to delay their ground offensive for the simple reason because they don't know which side the hostage crisis will play up. So they are giving time. They try and give time. Blinken also moved around all over the Arab world to somehow strike a deal to get the hostages back. But so far, nothing very much has moved on that. And if so, now it has become a very tricky situation. That is the situation as it stands. So this is as far as the contributory factors are concerned. Now, if you want me to touch upon the hospital attack, I can do it now, or you want me to ask? You want to ask?
Actually, actually, what I want to ask you is,
Huh.
how could uh, I mean, Israel IDF has released a video and photographs and said how the trajectory they have shown, how it is fired, and how it fell down. And I'm always doubting इतना बड़ा hospital आपने भी मुझे बताया कि I'm also after you told me I was forced to think कि such a big building how can it be coming down. और इजराइल ने बताया हमारे shrapnels भी अलग है. We use a different kind of shrapnels. We don't use the same ones.
Okay. Yes. Yes.
So
Yes.
so how did this come down? The whole building came down.
Okay. See, this is today is the age of information warfare, and information warfare can be played both sides. Now, this is such a big disaster as far as this attack on hospital is concerned that nobody will take the blame and nobody will take the credit also, and both sides will blame each other. Now, let's analyze the narrative in a little more detail of both sides. Firstly, let me talk about Hamas. As I said, Hamas is a brutal organization. They can kill any number of people, including their own, to ensure that their narrative works. So there is a possibility that Hamas could have done it for the simple reason because if they had to nullify the effect of Biden's visit, I think this was the best method because after this, no Arab leader is ready to meet Joe Biden. This is one. This is one issue. So therefore, there can be an intent. But then when we go into the technicalities, I have served in that area and I have been in United Nations, so I know that area very well. And I have been to all these places as UN staff. Now, let me tell you, all the rockets of so-called the Islamic Jihad or Hamas, most of their rockets are very primitive. They do not have that kind of explosive. They have been firing rockets for ages. And every time till now, we have never heard that a rocket, even when let's say 80 90% are diverted by the Iron Dome, But then all those 8 to 10% rockets which actually fall, no rocket has caused more than 2 to 3 casualties ever. How is it that a rocket of Hamas became so strong that it totally destroyed the entire building and and caused so much of casualties? And that too, the Israeli narrative says that it was a rocket fired by Islamic Jihad. If you see their arsenal, they are all country-made rockets, and they were actually, they can go wrong. There is no doubt about it because they are not that precision rockets. But they said a failed rocket landed upon hospital and caused so much of casualties. Now, a, attack on a hospital causing so many casualties has to be a much bigger arsenal. It could be a missile, it could be anything, and that has to have much more potency. So I do not. It's difficult for me to digest this part of the news. The videos can be created, the audios clips can also be created. That's one part of it. Now, as far as Israel is concerned, I grant them deliberately nobody in Israel will bomb a hospital. But the fact is that if their intelligence says that there is a hospital, that there is a big Hamas camp below the hospital in the tunnel, and the Hamas headquarters is operating from there, the way Israelis have reacted and the kind of provocation which Hamas has imposed on them, they won't mind striking a Hamas headquarters, even if it involves collateral damages. And collateral damages are collateral damages, and hospital can be one of those collateral damages. Now, as of today, none of us can say who did it. It's a matter which requires serious investigation, whether by UN agencies or anybody. But then, even in past, we found that whenever there is information war, two narratives they play and they continue playing, and investigation never comes to an end. Take the case of the blowing of Nord Stream 2, and similarly blowing off the Kerch bridge. The Western media was trying to tell us that Russian blew their own bridge and they blew their own pipeline. We didn't believe it at that time. Also, we said that it's difficult to digest. And now, slowly and slowly, you find that no, the stories are slightly different. One author says no, it was done by America. The other says that it was done by Ukraine. But now I think a little more sense is being seen there. But similarly, stories will come out here also as to what exactly happened a little later. But as of now, both can do it. And it could have been either of the two. Information warfare is there. Both will continue to play their narrative and will continue to fight the perception battle. That's my take on this. Back to you.
See, the one thing very important in this entire incident is a misinformation on all sides. अभी we all know America का foreign policy, no, India's foreign policy, very independent, and we are seeing Russian foreign policy, Chinese foreign policy, Iranian foreign policy. क्या आपको ऐसा लगता है based on analysis कि this conflict can become a wider conflict with Iran as well, or that is the objective of the West to control Iran through this conflict?
See, as far as Iran's direct hand is concerned, even the US NSA has also said that we have not found a direct evidence to say that Iran was directly involved on 07 October attack. That's one part of it. But the fact is that Iran has been funding. There are alleged reports, and a whole lot of them. They have been funding, and they've been funding Hezbollah. They've been arming Hezbollah. They've been arming Hamas. They've been arming, and there is moral, economic support from Qatar, and there are a whole lot of other Islamic countries who have given the support. So there is a support base. Otherwise, a terrorist organization cannot survive without a support base. So there is a support base. As far as Chinese are concerned and Russians are concerned, now as far as I do not grant too much to Russia to have provoked this for one simple reason, because Russia is overcommitted in Ukraine, number one. Number two, when the Armenia-Azerbaijan war took place very recently, Russia couldn't do much to save Armenia. Whereas 2 years back, when similar thing happened, Russia did intervene and saved Armenia. So That means Russian capability to unnecessarily open a new front is relatively limited. Similarly, if you see the statements of Putin, he has not supported Hamas by any stretch of imagination. All he has said is that two-state solution should be there and right of Palestinians to exist and to govern themselves must be there. That's all he has said. As far as Chinese are concerned, I don't think they will get involved at this stage, or anybody will get involved at this stage. It's only that if the conflict becomes wider, and if Iran is attacked, or say Iran hand comes out very openly or becomes a direct intervention, then what position they will take when if US gets into this war in some manner, that nobody can predict. But what US has tried to do is they have tried to keep Iran out. They put their aircraft carriers, two of them, only to give this message that please don't intervene. And that is the message which they are going to Hezbollah. And perhaps this message has worked so far, because except for few rocket attacks of Hezbollah, nobody externally has intervened in this war so far. Tomorrow, how the situation will be, because now the world opinion, and more so the opinion of the Hamas, of the Arabs, and the opinions of Palestinian backers is changing very fast. Because you see, from Palestinians' point of view or from the other point of view, here is a case where you control the airspace and maritime space, you control all the exits, you are not allowing anybody to come outside. Egypt is not allowing anybody to go there. There are 2.3 million guys. You are telling them, okay, you vacate the entire north, in 1.1 million to vacate in 24 hours. Now that is impractical and inhuman also. You have cut down the electricity, water, everything. Now there has to be a limit to all this, and this is going to change the psyche. Secondly, we have studied the psyche of terrorists also. Let me tell you in no uncertain terms, all the innocents which are getting killed in Gaza, their children will never forgive Israel. And that can be the next generation. Even if they are able to handle the present generation of Hamas, there is a next generation of Hamas which is in pipeline, because all these children will get radicalized. Now, this is something which they need to learn from other armies. You take the case of Indian Army. We have never used artillery or any area weapon to ensure that collateral damage don't take place. Even when Pakistan attacked on Pulwama and we launched a surgical strike, we knew that there are camps in the populated area. We left them. We did not get lured, and nor we had that much of self-control on us. We only selected one particular camp of Balakot, which was away from the population. And we destroyed that camp and gave the message very clearly. And after that, I think the message was quite clear. Touch wood, so far, no major attack has taken place. So, therefore, you have to distinguish. Hamas is not innocent Palestinians, and there is a difference. And Palestinians, unfortunately, are not being led properly as of today. So, therefore, their rights are also not, their aspirations are not being met. And you have locked up. I mean, there's no doubt that everybody in Gaza is locked up. And there was an announcement to say that, okay, everybody should move to south. Now, people did move to south, but then there has been bombardment in south also. So this is something which is going to force the change of opinions, and from earlier, all sympathies of the entire world were with Israel. That was on 7th of October. Everybody, nobody raised any question why Israel is reacting. That also, I don't think there was any problem with that. But now that Israel has killed 3 times the number of Israelis killed in Gaza, I think there can be a change of heart of so many people. You find even in the Western countries, even the EU foreign minister, he has also talked of that. The United Nations is saying that you have to give corridors. What nonsense! I mean, no corridor is being given, no water is being given. People are so that I think is going to change the opinion in times to come. Back to you.
एक so this entire आपने बड़ा clearly, you have clearly defined it कि what is the conflict. And so we also have done a show on Israel history. We have done it a few days ago. Dr. Shailendra Kumar had done it. We actually, people are generally confused, uh, or they have a question, or and I'm asking question on behalf of some people. Some comments I've got in Telegram
Hmm, hmm.
is 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 Indian army capable of, see, Pakistan is also a similar state. Apne, you also said very clearly, Palestinians also, the hatred they carry, and in future the hatred they'll carry is same, is a religious hatred and a threat of completely eradicating Israel from the map. That's what they say openly. Same
Yeah.
is Pakistan also has the same mindset. They're radicalized so much. They want to erase Hindus. And what they do to Hindus in Pakistan is a world known fact. Now the videos are coming out now. So do you
Yeah.
think that this kind of hatred, India, jo Bharat jo can fight with the help of intelligence agencies to de-radicalize, or in military terms, eradicate the conflict from Pakistan completely, despite them having some nuclear bombs?
Okay. See, the equations are totally different, and therefore, let me answer in two terms. First is what we can do internally. Internally, whatever terrorists they come from Pakistan, we eliminate them. But to find if somebody has given a shelter to the terrorist and getting after that civilian, innocent civilian, we don't get after him. Normally, you would have seen that along with the counter terrorist operations, there is Operation Sadbhavana. Indian Army does lot of help to the civilians there, and there is a change in mindset. The fact that the number of terrorists have gone down tremendously, and the incidents have gone down tremendously, uh, indicates that the policies which we have formulated within our country and within Kashmir, I think they have worked. Now, most of the guys who are coming, they are 70% of the terrorists. They are only about 100, odd left, and out of that, 70% are the Pakistani terrorists, and the infiltration is also becoming difficult, and that is why they are trying to get through Jammu and the international border instead of line of control, because the troop density is very is too much. Now, as far as within Pakistan is concerned, uh, as of now the situation is very interesting. We don't have to do anything. They are spoiling themselves. Their own terrorists are sorting them out well and proper. They helped Taliban beyond proportion. Now today, TTP is is attacking Pakistan army well and proper. Same is the case with the jihadis. Pakistan army finds it very difficult when jihadis there is a when there is a uprising by the jihadis, and it because of this jihadi culture, Pakistan is having lot of internal problems too. So that is one part of it. Second is outright war. Now, Pakistan is a nuclear country, and this is something which we have to take into account in working out our responses. When we did Balakot strike, earlier Pakistan used to say, "I am a nuclear country; I can do anything, and Pakistan, India will not do anything." But then I think Balakot strike took that notion off from them, and this was also very clearly indicator that a space exists of the conventional war in between, and a space exists for us to launch surgical strikes. And if you do anything, uh, you will you will be paid in kind. And I think that message is becoming quite clear. So this is one part of it, and that's how we are handling the Pakistan issue. Uh, as far as Israel and Palestine is concerned, there is a case because it's the same piece of land uh, where both have to coexist. Like it or not, at the end of the day, neither Palestinians will vacate entire Israel, nor will Israel vacate anything. So, with the result, it is in the space which includes Iran, Israel, West Bank, and Gaza, both have to adjust there. Earlier, they reconcile to this fact, better it is. And if they don't, then this hatred and this thing is going to continue. Killing each other is going to continue. It's an unfortunate state, but then the fact is that they have to work it out. And I don't think, see, today Egypt is not opening its border for one simple reason. They are giving two excuses. Even for humanitarian aids, they have not opened the borders. Now maybe they may be under pressure to open it. They are giving two reasons. One is that if we allow Palestinians to vacate, then Palestinians will vacate and this cause will die its natural death. Secondly, there will be a mass exodus of refugees. And thirdly, some of them can be Hamas cadres, and nobody wants to have Hamas cadre in its soil. So these are the two, three reasons why Arab world wants doesn't want them to the Palestinians or reverse migration of Palestinians into the Arab world. So this is so that is what makes a difference between the two situations between India as well as India Pakistan versus Israel Palestine.
So Indian Army armed forces carry tremendous firepower. Like people have no idea, but when you look at the reports from CIA and other countries, then they really admire the firepower of Indian forces, and probably that has also kept India also in the limelight, or for American policymakers, don't mess with India in some military form. So do you think that that the Indian forces will be able to, if there is a world war kind of scenario, first of all, whether it will happen or not, it's a different scenario, but if it happens, will the Indian forces are strong enough to take care of the pressures of world war? जबकि इंडियन फोर्सेस ने तो वर्ल्ड वॉर 2 दोनों में पार्टिसिपेट किया है.
See, that was a different scenario because we were part of British India at that point of time, and Indian forces, wherever they went, they were victorious. All the tales of World War One and World War Two, we have all the battle honors of World War One and World War Two. That's one part of it. Secondly, the force structuring and force application, both in case of Indian Army, is designed to ensure that we protect the sovereignty and territorial integrity of India. The basic policy of India is don't interfere in somebody else's affair and don't let anybody else interfere in your affairs. And that is why you would have seen that for this Indo-Pakistan issue, there have been a whole lot of gentlemen who have been trying to say that, okay, we will mediate. And we have said, no, nothing doing. Thank you very much. We'll sort it out ourselves. And when it comes to we interfering, sometimes people say, why are you not speaking out, criticizing others? There have been others who have been criticizing that this is what has happened in India, etc., giving us moral lectures. But India doesn't give too many moral lectures because we believe that there is no point sorting out. We have enough problems in a manner that we are growing, we are a developing economy, we have to pull out people from poverty, and we are not looking at the world war or taking sides, even if two sides start fighting. Even if there is an Arab-Israel war, certainly we are not looking for Indian boots on ground, Indian army putting boots on ground anywhere. Uh, as of now, I don't visualize that scenario. Even in Russia-Ukraine war, you have seen that the kind of response which we gave. Even in this case, we condemn what Hamas has done unequivocally. At the same time, we also say that no, Palestinians also have right to exist and right to govern and right to be free in their own area. So this is the stance which India has taken, and I think it has continued with it for quite some time. That's all.
एक क्वेश्चन आता है, because see,
Hmm.
recently any fund which is given to Palestine
Hmm.
ends up into the hands of Hamas.
Yes.
Any aid given to Pakistan comes into the hands of Pakistani army, which is Hamas of Pakistan, very clearly.
Yeah.
So how do you how can any donor trust these countries, even though if it's a purely civilian, purely, you give any money, it's going to end up in the hands of these people.
I totally appreciate. What should be done is the world must put pressure on these two gentlemen, especially Abbas and Hamas. Of course, will be under pressure now. I think the whole world pressure will be on them to. Uh, uh, so see the Palestinians need to select a leader. They have held no elections. Firstly, there should be elections. In the interim, so long there, because these two, both of them are not interested in having elections actually. Now, in the interim, what we need to do is to help the people of Palestinians. Don't give cash in the hand of Hamas. Period. Everything, all aid should be given in kind, and in kind means that you have the UN agencies. Those agencies need to be protected. Those agencies need to be distributing things in kind, whether it is food, whether it is medical. We need to give hospitals in kind. We need to give all the basic essentials of which a country needs. That should be given in kind. This model of giving things in kind is being followed in a number of African countries. And I being in United Nations, I've seen that we are not doling out cash in a number of countries where the infrastructure and the shall I say the capacity of the state is not there to govern. Uh, Unfortunately, uh, in Gaza Strip, Hamas has assumed power, and even it is beyond Palestinians to throw them out. Although all opinion polls in Gaza Strip, they give very much credibility and very much support, very less credibility and very less support to Hamas. But the fact is that no elected government has replaced Hamas. That's the pity with these people. So my short answer to your question is, give all help in kind. Don't give money. Money will be misused by Hamas.
uh, there is a very unique incident which came up, that was in the case of Syria. The Syrian government accused US of stealing oil, and we all know that Hezbollah is based in Syria, and also some other terrorist groups, including ISIS, is in Syria, in northeastern Syria and eastern Syria,
Yeah.
so, and which is supported by the US and other forces in the West. So, do you think that the West is acting on both sides, giving money to both the parties, and then fueling this conflict further? Because it is, अभी US में तो अभी sanction, yesterday they put the sanctions. Republicans proposed a sanction against Iran, freezing $6 billion assets, Iranian assets in American banks. And when the American president said very clearly that there is no evidence, President Biden said it clearly in 60 Minutes interview, there is no evidence of Iran's involvement so far. So, and he also added that I'm not. First of all, I can tell the viewers I'm neither on any side of politics. I'm an independently registered voter in the US also, so I'm totally independent. I won't take any political side. But still, I mean, he said under the oath of secrecy, he said that I have no evidence, direct evidence of anyone, without revealing much. So, this conflict, how do you see from this perspective that one partner, US is a partner of both Palestine as well as Israel, so is playing on all sides, and this conflict is growing, and the world is paying for it by stock markets. You can see today what is happening today, other than the arms companies in US.
See, as far as US is concerned, they are also slightly in a tight spot in this particular scenario, in a manner that they worked very hard to get Israelis and Arab countries together. Abraham Accord was one, then they also were working it out with Saudi Arabia. Now, all their effort because of this Hamas action has is out of the window. So they somehow are trying to tell the world, and especially Saudi Arabia and others, that whatever initiatives we have taken, they are not out of the window. Let this settle down, and hopefully we will be able to revive that. That's one part of it. The second issue is as far as Iran is concerned. Now, uh, to sanction Iran, I think Joe Biden is acting under pressure of Netanyahu and Israeli people, because there are many pressures on President Joe Biden. One is the pressure of the hostages. There are certain Americans also who are hostages, and in fact, I'm given to understand that there were certain messages which were flashed to President that don't come without freeing the American hostages, something like that. So therefore, he is carrying. Now, what can he do under those circumstances? Yes, he has said, and his NSA also said that we did not find a direct link of Iran. But then the fact is that the needle of suspicion will always remain with Iran, because with if the Arab world goes away from Israel, the direct beneficiary is Iran, and therefore the circumstantial evidence suggests that the needle of suspicion is and will remain on Iran for supporting these organizations, whether it is Hamas or Hezbollah, and some of the organizations in Syria. So therefore, I think reluctantly, in some manner, President Biden has acted because he has no better option, apparently. Although whether it will actually affect anything on ground, I have my doubts, because sanctions, if they didn't show any effect earlier, they will not show much effect now also, and more so when China and Russia, they are not distancing themselves from Iran anyway. In fact, there are long-term agreements which have been signed between China and Iran for long-term energy supply, which is nullifying those, shall I say, the freezing of funds in some manner. Apparently, the geopolitics has actually divided the world into two camps. One camp is of the West, and the second camp is Iran, China, Russia, North Korea, Syria, all these put together. Now, this is a big power contestation. Earlier, not earlier, even now, one place of big power contestation is Ukraine, and here, this was somewhat in the cold storage, as far as this was also one of the place of big power contestation. But in Middle East, after US influence was slightly declining, and US interest was also slightly declining, because they became self-sufficient in oil by virtue of shale oil. There was a race for China and Russia to gain more space there, and that is where a big power contestation exists. But this Israel-Palestinian issue was on low key, but Hamas has triggered it because they thought that one, they themselves were losing relevance, and two, the Palestinian cause should not be hijacked by the various agreements between Israel and Arab world, and both sides getting together. So in a way, if you see, uh, Hamas, they've done all kinds of barbaric acts. One is all right, but as far as the military planning is concerned, they've actually achieved most of their aims. Uh, they have been able to distance Israel from Arab to some extent. They've also been able to show Israel in very poor light. They've been able to expose Israel, so-called the best intelligence and the best defense shield, etc., etc. They've been able to show as to where it stands, and they've also been able to show that USA, despite president being there, the Jordan and Abbas, all these had the courage to say that, okay, we are not going to meet you. I mean, we are not going to follow your line, because you have taken, or you are holding a hand of a wrong person.
See, throughout the world conflicts since 1945 and before, one party has been the West. I'm talking geopolitics.
Hmm.
In religion, one party has been the Islamism, which is one party has always been one. So now in this conflict also, one party is the West. West is just 10%, less than 10% of world population. And if you look at within the West also, only 10% within the West is playing in these kind of areas. But rest of the people have no concern with this, nothing to do with this. If you ask a survey today, most of the Americans will only tell you negative things about Palestinian protest. Most of the people. He said they're living in USA protesting for Palestinian issues, and we have so many other issues in the USA. But if you look at the West, आप तो बहुत घूमते हैं, that the in the West, there is no. If you live here, you will know that people have no idea about these conflicts. Generally, on the street, I'm saying they have no idea what their country does abroad. Nobody has any idea. American media doesn't tell anything. So even today, when you and I are discussing this video, American media is talking about a Republican versus Democrats right now. That's what they're covering. What are they presenting and what is happening here? So, and American media is now slowly waking up that their streets are completely covered with Palestinian and Hamas supporters from abroad. Now, same thing happens in India also. In India also, if you see that the left and the Islamism groups are fighting for an issue which they know nothing about, nothing, including Indian media analysts also don't know much about it. They're just reporting what is being told to them by the AFP or some international agency. So,
Yeah.
in this situation, how do people, especially my viewers, our viewers, Sattology viewers, can understand, they can separate the wheat from the chaff, that why this so much political propaganda on the ground for a country which is so small, which is like 1/10 the part of Maharashtra?
Hmm. See, there are two things. Let me cover it now that you have touched this point. Let me cover it in a broader perspective. In the world, maximum population is of Christians, say around 24%. Muslims are around, I think, 18, 19%, and Hindus are about 11, 12% or something like that. The maximum terrorist organizations, they belong to one community by and large. Uh, but this does not mean that the entire country community believes in that. I'm a very strict follower of that, because most of these organizations, they have killed more Muslims than anybody else. And that is why what I visualize is that we cannot paint everybody with the same brush. And more so in the shall I say democracies, and in societies which are secular. So that's one part of it. Secondly, there is no doubt that uh, uh, shall I say atrocities. See, today if you see the Israel situation, what is that Israel doesn't have? They have the land, they have the protection, they have the very strong military, they have full control over West Bank, and they are controlling Gaza Strip also from outside. The only thing is they are not inside to govern it. That's it. So, what is that for which Israel is aggrieved? Nothing, except that this incident has taken place and they keep facing rockets all over. Take the other side now. As far as Palestinians are concerned, neither they have the land, nor are they being able to govern themselves. Even in West Bank, Abbas can't do very much. Everything is being done by Israel. Similarly, even in Gaza, electricity, water, everything is being given by Israel. Even these Gaza guys are going and working in Israel and coming back. All crossings are being controlled, air is being controlled, and sea is being controlled by them. So, therefore, there is a, a feeling of an open prison in Gaza Strip. And this is something which most of the people of that, once you give, and all these terrorist organizations, what they do is they give a religious color to it. And once that religious color is given, then all those who believe in that religion, they also have some sympathy with that. And not only that particular religion, you will also find there are a whole lot of Westerners who are talking about it, because uh, the way the statements were made, like uh, uh, Netanyahu made a statement that I will obliterate Hamas. Come on, now USA took, after 9/11, USA have taken 20 years. Has Al Qaeda been obliterated? The answer is no. They still exist. They may not be very powerful, but they exist. So it's almost impossible, and half of their hierarchy is sitting outside. How will you eliminate? You don't have the, you are, they are not in your striking distance, striking capability. So that's one part of it. Similarly, today they are backtracking from that statement, but yes, there was a statement made by their army chief, or whoever, the defense chief. He said that we will bomb everything, and this statement was played out. And as I said, information warfare is both sides. So Hamas has played it out to the entire Islamic world that this is what he is saying. And he did say that we will cut electricity, water, everything will be cut. So these are certain things which are, if you now had it been any other country, uh, the West would have criticized that country out of proportion and said that the human rights violations have taken place. Now, just imagine how much Russia was under criticism when they were targeting the essential infrastructure. Now, here is a case where an army says that I will cut down all the essential infrastructure, and nobody says anything. So obviously now people have started saying. So therefore, it goes both ways. You push somebody up to the wall, then that guy is going to retaliate in some manner or the other. So therefore, and then if that particular area belongs to a particular community, then obviously that becomes a threat to that community too. The way and one of the reason why this is echoing all over the world now, as I said, that initially all sympathies were with Israel. Now sympathies are changing in some manner or the other all over.
No, the West's hypocrisy has been exposed, and also the controlling influence of Western influence over the public bodies is also there, because now we see that how the UNSC uh, actually
Yeah,
remained quiet on this issue, did not say
yeah,
anything, not
not
a
only
single.
remained quiet. Today, I think Russia put up a this thing proposal for Palestinian cause, and that has been vetoed by USA. So the UNSC and UN has become an organization in a manner that in UNSC there are five P5 members. Four are victors of Second World War and they didn't reform themselves, and that's why they're stuck. And the fifth one was Chinese addition after communist China took place. That is one part of it. Now the state today is whatever the three members from the West, that is USA, France, and UK, would propose, Russia and China will dispose. Whatever they propose, these guys will dispose. With the result, UNSC is logjam, nothing will move. And UN has become absolutely ineffective organization, despite, I mean, I'm very, shall I say, I feel very bad to say that, having done 3 tenures in United Nations, that it has hardly any credibility left.
I mean,
Back to you.
the main reason they don't want to include India in that group is because India has always maintained independent stance.
Exactly.
That's why they don't want to include India there. That's the main reason why. There is no other reason actually. Indian government has tried very hard, but still they're not allowing it, and they may do lip service, but they won't let India in. It is impossible. India has to make a line bigger than them. Maybe G20 becomes G21 becomes the main forum now, or BRICS becomes the main forum. But in this grouping, it's not possible.
Yeah.
It's pretty much. It's. I think Indian foreign policy managers must have also realized it, that no longer possible in this grouping. Not possible, definitely. You know.
You see, let me dwell a little more on this. See, to reform UNSC or include anybody in UNSC, the charter has to change. And there is a regulation, section, I think, Article 108, which says that all P5 members must agree. If one doesn't agree, then it doesn't happen. Now, there is no way that China will agree, so it will not happen. There is one more provision which we were trying to work it out, that is Article 377. Now, in that article, what happens is if UNSC cannot arrive at a decision on any matter, the UN General Assembly with 75% vote can actually overrule. But then the problem is that most of the people in UN GA, UN General Assembly, also they follow the line of the P5 members, and that is where the voting pattern changes. Now, because of this voting pattern, you would find very awkward things happening. Like today, China, after whatever they have done in Xinjiang, they are sitting in the Human Rights Council, and that too by election. So people have voted for them. Similarly, Pakistan is sitting in Human Rights Council, and people have voted for them because the China and Russia would have twisted the arm of all those guys who have taken loan from China, that you please vote for them, and that's how it has happened. So that is why I say UN has become a defunct organization. Uh, I don't have very much hopes on the United Nations now.
One last question I'll take is, and I'll clarify for the viewers, General Saab was not defending Hamas in any way. He criticized Hamas because he said it that it's a criminal organization, it's a terrorism. So it was not. So that clarification I'll put. And also second clarification is that General Saab is not even fully supporting Israel as well, because there are certain things which are beyond the standards of Indian armed forces also. Indian armed forces never attack civilians in any condition. So, do you think that the biggest the biggest force in the world is a moral force? Do you think that the Indian polity as well as Indian armed forces are the moral police of the world today?
See, we will not claim because America used to do this mistake of becoming moral policemen, etc., etc. We don't take that claim, but certainly we have managed our affairs in a manner, in a very professional manner. We didn't become army-centric country like Pakistan. We also, and Pakistan as well as PLA. PLA in China is also very powerful, and whoever is chairman CMC, he is the boss. Um and also at the same time, we have remained democratic. We are a democratic army, and we are being loved by the entire country. So that's a plus for us. As far as few clarifications which you made, let me also clarify in no uncertain terms. I fully condemn what Hamas has done. Whatever Hamas has done in provoking this is is, uh, is something which everybody on this earth must condemn. And nobody, including, they are doing no good to anybody, including Palestinians. In fact, they are causing more harm to the Palestinians than perhaps anybody else in the world. So, as far as Hamas is concerned and a terrorist organization is concerned, they have to be tackled, they must be tackled, and they must be taken to task. Now, there are many methods to take it to task, like what we have done. When we were taking the terrorist organization to task, there were so many things. A terrorist organization survives on money, it survives on logistic support, it survives on material support. Cut these things out, and this is where we should be concentrating. You cannot tackle a terrorist organization by aligning by annoying the population. Now, this is where perhaps there is a difference in the way Israel deals with its people, and especially the Arab people, even in West Bank, the way they deal and the way we deal. So there are certain lessons which I'm sure Israel will pick up from here, like 2 3 lessons which I said. In fact, in I was on the national TV of Poland. They also said perhaps Israel will pick up this lesson. No obstacle, nowhere you can say that I have got tremendous amount of firepower and I have got tremendous amount of military capability, so therefore I will win. No, America, with all the might which it had, it could not win in Vietnam, it could not win in Afghanistan. And there is a writer in America itself, that is Sean McFate, which says who has written a book as to why we have lost all wars, despite having everything best in the world. That is because our strategy was wrong, and the strategy was that we were not getting into those villages. We were not using, like in Vietnam, they did not use terrain friction to their advantage. Vietnamese dug tunnels, 250 kilometers of them, and then they checkmated them. Now, same is the case here. Hamas has dug, I am given to understand, 500 kilometers of tunnel. It's not all that easy for Israelis. They can keep pounding everything, but then they are sitting inside the tunnel. Not very many Hamas will be killed. Civilians are getting killed. So that is where we will have to perhaps distinguish. And all the money which is flowing, all the material support which is flowing, that needs to be cut. We have to told UN agencies also. Hamas may be a government. Let's de-recognize that damn government and say that okay, we will not give any money to them. The money will be given only to various UN observers, etc., etc. They will be placed and they will be given all the help in kind, and that will be distributed under UN agencies. So something like that, some such things will have to be worked out. Otherwise, this in the manner in which we are talking, the Hamas has to be tackled in more than one ways. Only military aggression is not the only way to tackle. There are many more things to tackle. You have to tackle in psychological way. You have to give Palestinians also somehow convince, launch a campaign, influence campaign, to say that, see the how much harm Hamas has done to you. You have to you have to highlight the luxurious lifestyle of their leaders in Qatar. So many things. There are many strategies. We try to work that out. You have to work out on the sentiments of the people who have died, on the parents' sentiments. That, see, your son being in Hamas, this is what nonsense he has done. So I think we will have to work on more than one, shall I say, strategy. Pure brute force is not going to finish Hamas.
No, I mean, you said it, you touched it. The founder of Hamas sitting in Qatar, the foremost ally of USA, and with the lavishness and like this $4 billion is the tweet put out by IDF is the worth. And while Palestinians are living in poverty and under the mercy of their organizations, so it's like the Pakistan is controlled by a Pakistan army. Palestine is controlled by Hamas. I mean, very clearly, it is West Bank as well as Gaza. So the point is, I mean, to put fingers at anyone is wrong, because people who are supporting are also complicit. People who are acting are also complicit. And for the people like you who are throwing a light on these incidents, and people like me who are just observers, actually I'm at the receiving end. We are in the US. We are at the receiving end. हम हमारे ऊपर ही ये लोग बदले का वो करने वाले हैं, हमारे ऊपर, हम लोग के ऊपर ही. So the thing is, so tell me, General, like how a common person in the US or anywhere else can advise their policymakers to bring actual peace, because nobody is looking for peace here. People are looking for economic interests only.
See, peace and economy works together, and as I say, there are various other interests also in US. When we talk of US, that is the interests of arm industry, etc., etc., uh, uh, where perhaps war becomes a necessity in some manner or the other. Otherwise, who is going to the employment problem and the finances of the political parties, that can also create a little problem if the arm industry doesn't do well. So it has to do well. So that's one part of it, which is a block. uh, we I think the American people, having suffered so much from gun violence, have yet not been able to convince or force their leaders to pass some laws which, at least if nothing else, at least restrict automatics being in the hand of a normal man. So I think there is a lot which needs to be done. uh, I think the elections also, maybe the voting is the biggest power in democracy, and maybe that the right kind of voting, right kind of people coming up can make all the difference. Like, I can see a little change in India. Earlier, there used to be voting on so many, sometimes in caste system, sometimes in other things. But today there is a little difference in voting pattern. We see that a guy who does well in as far as development is concerned, he gets elected. Anyone who doesn't do well, he doesn't get elected. Also, the voters have become so smart that in local elections, in an election of a state, they choose a different party, and when it comes to the country, they say that no, Modi is doing a better job, so it should be Modi. So you will find that in Delhi, for two elections, it is some other government in Delhi, and when it comes to Lok Sabha election, that is the country's election, then all the seats in Delhi are with Modi. So there is a little bit of some sense, and because they feel that maybe the local party can handle local issues better. So therefore, I think the voter, his biggest power is, we as common man, our biggest power is vote, and we must vote the right person. That's what I can say in democracies, and hope for the best, because the geopolitics has got economic. You can't separate geopolitics and economic interest today, and as Sean McFate says, I keep repeating his this thing because his analysis is quite good. He says people don't matter when it comes to the arms industry. How many
Yes,
people die in Ukraine, it doesn't matter.
doesn't matter.
Uh,
And also the people have
a-
a yes. Go ahead. You're saying
and
something.
also, people, how many people die in Afghanistan, it doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
So the issue is people don't matter. Even here, you see how many people, and I'm very bluntly saying, Hamas doesn't mind getting as many Palestinians killed. It doesn't matter to them. It just doesn't matter. They are a terrorist organization and they must be condemned. At the same time, when it comes to Israel, they also don't matter how many Palestinians die. It doesn't matter to them. So long everything is going their way. So, unfortunately, it's sad, but it's true that people don't matter when it comes to survivals. Political survival is one thing, and relevance. Hamas is fighting for its relevance. Netanyahu is fighting for his political survival, and all the drama which he did before this incident is for his political survival.
True, and I think you're absolutely right in analyzing that because more and one thing I must tell the viewers also, American gun laws cannot be removed. It's a Second Amendment. It's not possible because guns were given to the American citizens to protect against a rogue American government because after Civil War. So that is not going to go away also. So no state can make a law, so it is not going to happen. But at the same time, I mean, the better sense prevails that there is no there is a lot of background checks and a lot of mental health clinics being set up in USA where people can be advised. And also, my biggest advice to American policymakers will be stop the slaughterhouses and the McDonald's because these are the places where maximum food poisoning happens, affects the brains as well. जनरल साहब बहुत बहुत आपसे बात करके मुझे बहुत मजा आता है और I could have gone on and on because this is very my pet topic and I have very little knowledge about these topics, to be very frank with you. And so I learn a lot. And thank you for viewers for watching today. And do like, share, subscribe our videos, and we'll get General Asthana on this same topic in a later show. Till then, namaste and have a nice day.
Thank you, and my namaste to all the viewers.
Thank you.